every entrepreneur I know has a million things that they're passionate about, and there's so many juicy, interesting ideas that we can pursue. So how do you know when it's time to just do something because you're passionate about? Hi, I'm Melanie Benson Strick, and I'm known as America's leading small business optimizer. And this weekly podcast series is all about how to replace the overwhelm and good enough results with key strategies that are going to help you generate exponential impact and profits so you can do more of what you love. And my special guest this week is someone that I've had a very fascinating conversation with recently and is really doing something because she's super passionate about it. And as she's shared more and more about it, I knew I had to get involved. I knew it was also a really interesting study in what part passion plays in our business overall and how it can juice up everything. So let me tell you a little bit about my friend, Kim DeYoung. Kim DeYoung is founder of Get It Done U, and that's the letter U, and the creator of the Women's Launch Playbook. And Kim does one thing better than anyone else. She teaches entrepreneurs how to get their brilliant ideas out of their head and into the marketplace. And Kim can be found at Get It Done, letter U, so it's getitdoneu.com. So Kim, thanks so much for joining me today. And I know you've been managing kids and phones and all kinds of fun things to get here today so that we can talk about prosperity and we can talk about the role that passion plays in creating more success and really more momentum and inspiration and the things that do make us money, yeah?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, so you and I have been having a very interesting dialogue over a few weeks now, maybe even a couple months, about something that you've been wanting to do for a really long time. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what it is and why it's finally found its way to the surface and you're going to be doing it in 2014?
A few years ago, I became very aware that there were conversations about money and prosperity that were not being discussed.
Or the lack of prosperity, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sort of the facade of having prosperity when in fact it wasn't there. And so here I was, a woman starting an internet business and observing lots of great people online. And one of the things that I observed was I thought, oh my God, these women are making money, or so they seem to be making a lot of money. They're doing all these sorts of things with their businesses, or again, that was the picture that they were painting. And I kept wondering, like, my business that's not happening for me. And that's not necessarily happening for a lot of other people that I know, but I knew that we were watching all of these other women. And then I had the opportunity to meet a handful of them over time, and some of them shared very candidly with me some of their truths, which were that they had the same similar challenges that I may have had, but that wasn't necessarily what they were projecting. And I thought, this is the kind of information that needs to get out there, because as women specifically, we compare ourselves to each other. And I think if women can, in that sort of camaraderie types, that way where we're supportive of each other and say, look, I've been challenged, I've struggled, this hasn't necessarily been as easy, these were some of the things that went on for me, really sharing a little bit of that truth, I think it can be very validating for others who are following and observing them. So the idea 4 years ago, which is now manifesting itself now today, or this period of time, was that I wanted to invite a handful of amazing women together to really share their truths. And it is very passion-based for me because this is a message that I just feel women need to hear. I think there are a lot of women who are in the trenches who might be feeling embarrassed at their situations, maybe shameful about what's going on for them, feeling a little bit less than. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if they can hear the stories of other women who will share some of their vulnerable moments, some of the moments that maybe they have not shared publicly, maybe share how they got out of some bad situations and improve things. I just feel like it can be very healing for many of these women who are watching. And so I've wanted to put this together, and it is now coming to be. And it is very much from a place of service for me. I look at it as, for me, putting together a virtual event is probably one of the most fun experiences for me, because it's also this beautiful experience of, okay, what's the big message that I want to get out there that I think others need? And then who are the people that I think can support bringing the information of that message out there and then getting to connect with them? Mm-hmm. So it's almost like I get to be this conductor. as I pull the whole thing together. I don't have to do it all, but I get to kind of reach out to people I've had relationships with, people I've admired out in the space, and kind of pull the whole thing together and then share it. So it's a very fun process, one of which I'm knee deep in the middle of right now.
Kim, this is like it's actually a passion of mine too to talk about prosperity. And before we go on, I'm just going to have you flip your hair off your mic because I think it's causing a lot of feedback on the mic. Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
Perfect.
is that better?
Yeah, because we want to be able to hear you, not your hair, right?
Not my hair. My hair is a great conversation.
So, I think you're hitting on something here, and I know we've had. Well, actually, I don't even remember the conversation we originally had. I vaguely remember, but I know you told me that was really pivotal for you and the whole catalyst about this. And I've had so many people tell me over the years that being willing to talk about what my journey has really been like, and kind of pulling back the facade and being real. And not just making up a whole show and dance about what it's supposed to look like was very healing for them. And when I teach Money DNA, I talk about what my real path was, because I want people to know that if you're in this space, you're not alone. And the only reason, and the biggest reason that I ever did that, was because I had some of those same conversations with some of the biggest names in our industry. And I also knew who was willing to tell the truth and who was hiding. Mm-hmm. And I remember feeling like for so many years I had to hide the truth and make myself look one way, and that was the only way anyone was ever going to accept me. And then I realized how damaging that was, and how wrong that was, and how that was not serving anybody. And it was so hard, it was so painful to try and make things look, and not that they were always different, but at the times when they were feeling out of sync and not being able to really help people see what really goes on behind it. So I love that you're doing this. And so in January, and this will be there, I think always for people to get a hold of, but you're doing something called the Prosperity Summit because you're wanting to have this conversation. We both know that people need to hear the ins and outs, but what do you think is the core for someone right now, the conversation they really need to be in around prosperity so that they can have the best year of their life?
In some way, prosperity is a lot about believing that it's possible. So that's a big part of it, because when you sit sort of on your own and you're watching all these other people thinking, is that, and you're comparing, it's kind of like, is that feasible for me? Can I have a piece of what they have? Can I have some of that? So I think embarking on a new year, it's kind of what is it that you want to bring into your life? And prosperity is not just money. I was actually just listening to a brilliant call. I've been studying Kabbalah lately for the past 6 months, and I was listening to a beautiful call just recently about prosperity, and it was talking about, so often when we think of the word prosperity, our natural instinct is to go to money. But what about the other things that make us feel prosperous? Our family, our relationships, the care that we give to ourselves. I mean, there's so many other things that make us have prosperity in our life, but we often associate that word prosperity primarily with money. And I think there's an opportunity. I know for myself, I want to be more conscious of this. I don't want to just think of my life as what is the money that I bring in, but what are the experiences, what are the people, what are the things that I'm doing with the time that I have, because time's also an opportunity for prosperity. So I guess my vision as we host this event is to get a conversation going. I mean, I've made that pretty clear as I'm interviewing people and imagining speaking to those that are listening. It's like, this event is just part one. The conversation has to continue, whether we use social media, whether we have other events, other sorts of ways to connect and speak about this, so that people can be more honest. I think that's really what the whole thing is. I think anything money related, I think people in general are so scared to talk about the truth of their money. So much is attached to it, so much about our self-worth, what we make, what we don't make, how we spend, etc. And to now have this opportunity for people to feel like they don't have to pretend and can't ask the questions that they might want to ask of somebody, but often we think it's so taboo to bring up anything money related with people.
So, I'm reminded of a couple of funny things that happened over the last week where two different people, one was a client of mine. He ended up, he was like he texted me or something, and he goes, "Do you know this person?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, within like 5 minutes of meeting them, they were telling me how they're a seven-figure business owner and they know this person and that person, and it was almost like they were trying to buy my credibility or buy
Yeah.
credibility with me." And I
Right.
was laughing.
Right.
I'm like, "Oh my god," it's like in a way, certain circles and certain parts of our world have been deduced to, like racking up points by saying what kind of person we are. And I live in LA, and another interesting circle and another interesting conversation oftentimes is revolving around, how much money we make and how flashy we are, and, all these things about our lifestyle. And I was at a party in the Hollywood Hills, and I just was like, the conversations were so about how much money they were raking in every month and what they were doing to get there, and all these fancy stealth things that were really kind of on the borderline of just being completely, um, you know, illegal slash unethical. And I'm like, oh my God, like what are we deduced to? And I think, one of the things I'm excited about with having more conversations about prosperity and being in the Prosperity Summit with you is that, if we can take and make prosperity something that has a value, that means something that is more wholesome, that is more powerful, that is more expansive, what kind of impact do we think we could have on the work that we do, on the quality of our life? And you keep talking about that comparison. I
Yeah.
think comparison is one of the things that as human beings we do so organically, but it's so damaging. Would
So
you
damaging.
agree?
And more so, and even and specifically for women. I mean, we're comparing our looks, we're comparing how thin we are, we're comparing how few wrinkles we have, how, I mean, we're comparing at so many levels, and it's so insidious and so unfair as we do that. And we
Mm-hmm.
do it in our businesses. And, the truth is you never know. I mean, one of the analogies I've actually been using a lot with regard to the summit is the whole premise of airbrushing. So think about the feeling you have when you look at a beautiful magazine cover and, you assume that model has no wrinkles and no
Right.
cellulite and they're all perfect. And you're like,
They're all
God,
size two, of course.
they're all size two, and you think,
Perfect hair.
I don't look like that in the morning, and you start to feel less than. And it's sort of similar in business. We
Mm-hmm.
see these people who come out with all this beautiful polished website, and it's almost like with a website and an airbrushed photo, you can have a great persona, and it's like, okay, what really goes on behind the scenes,
Mm.
and all of that's not shared, and it's very challenging.
Yeah. So this is exciting. I love this conversation. I can't wait to have more of it with the Prosperity Summit. We'll share with everybody in a few minutes how they can be a part of that conversation. But, I want to take a step even deeper, and I want to take a step back into the thought process behind why now. Because I
Yeah.
think a lot of people, and by the way, this is all tied into prosperity, I think, is I think a lot of people struggle with the timing of when to bring their ideas out. And, I see a lot of people block their prosperity, that kind of shut themselves off from the very life force of the abundance in their life by being afraid to move an idea out in the world. And I know you held on to this for a while, and then all of a sudden it was time. Like, can you talk us through what became really significant for you, or what became the clarity? I almost said clearness, which is really not a word, but the clarity that you went, yes, it's time.
It's interesting. I'm in a personal time where I had been in a bit of a transitional time over this year of 2013. And as we kind of entered September, October, I got some great clarity about what it was that I wanted to be doing, and really started getting out there with my money making opportunities, the things that truly fuel my business, teaching people how to launch businesses, et cetera. And I was speaking with a woman that I had met, and there was just this beautiful connection that we'd had. Anyway, we were having a conversation about wanting to do something together. And in that conversation of what we wanted to do together, I shared something about the Prosperity Summit with her. And she just jumped on it. She said, "Oh my
Mm.
God, Kim, I would love to be a part of that. That sounds so exciting." And there was something about her energy, the way we interacted, the dynamics of our conversation, that I just said, "Okay, let's do it." And I really believe that our timing was probably beginning of November. And we were like, okay, let's launch this in 4 weeks. Let's do this right before Christmas. We're going to get 35 people speaking. I mean, we were crazy, ADD, all over the place. We had lists, we had Google Documents, we had everything going as we were organizing this. And then I finally said, you know what? As much as I'm like a get it done girl and really want to do things quickly, I think we may be moving a little too fast. And I think it might be pressuring us a little bit too much. And so we chose to move it till right after the new year. And, here's the thing. Is there a perfect time to launch anything? I don't know that there's any perfect time. We could have spun it that we were launching it in December because it was like, look, we want to have this conversation as you move into the holidays, which can be a time of great feelings of scarcity and challenge, or we want to open it up for the new year as we start the new year and open up your thoughts. But I guess most importantly, I was so energized by my experience with Terry and our relationship and having the support of somebody else. And really within a 24-hour period, we had put a wish list together of the women that we wanted to speak. And we had mapped out, we'd gotten great clarity on like, what was our vision? What did we want people to learn? What did we want to teach? What were the questions we wanted to ask of our speakers? And it just got us on this incredible roll. And between the two of us, we had really mapped out the whole thing, started connecting with people right away. And it just kind of took on a life of its own. And it's really been moving at that pace. And I will say that adds a lot of fuel and that makes it a lot of fun. I think if I had let this be a project that I said, okay, let's do this in June, like it just wouldn't feel as fun. Like the fact that we're pulling it together quickly and just making it happen, getting it out there. Again, is January the perfect time? One could counter that various ways and say too many things are launching first quarter. Okay, whatever. Like I just want to get it out there. I want to start. And here was the other thing. I will tell you this. One of the things I was very, very clear about, and this was because it was passion-based, and it was not coming from the perspective of what will we earn out of this project. I was very clear that the people that I wanted to invite, I only wanted them to participate if they wanted to. It wasn't about, how many people are going to see this page and who's clicking and who else is doing it and how big's their list. I almost kind of gave thought. I thought if anybody asked that question, I'm not interested. Like, I don't even want them participating. I was that clear about that. And I had 2 people ask, and I never followed up with their emails. And everybody else who I thought would ask, I didn't invite. And the people that I did invite all said yes, barely without it knowing anything. And I thought that's what I want. I want the people who just say yes because they get it. They get that the message is important. And hopefully they'll promote it and spread the word because they know it's that important. And it's not one of these, what affiliate commission am I going to get on the back end? It's not what this is about. So we will see.
It's funny, when passion drives something, it almost creates a life of its own. But I do think there are times when, passion can get in the way. Do you think you've ever seen times when passion kind of gets in the way, or it maybe is clouding your ability to get something done, maybe you and or people or do you think passion is a core driver in terms of when you should pursue it?
It's a great question. I think I've seen it on both sides. Part of what I help people to do is to take the things that they are passionate about and to get them out into the world. Mm-hmm. So I have certainly seen those people who come to me because they have the passion, they know they've got the brilliant idea, they know somebody can benefit, and they're just kind of stuck on the steps and the how-to, and they don't know how, and they want my support in some way to get it out there. So I've certainly seen people come who have that goal and that passion and are ready to go. And then I have seen many who have that same kind of passion, who probably, as the typical MO of how they do most things in their life, they don't move forward. So they had the passion, they were excited, they get on the first call, they're all over the place, they can't wait to get started, they're all ready to jump in. And then I kind of follow up with them and, oh, Kim, I'm sorry, I didn't do that work. No, I'm sorry, I didn't do that. Really? You said you wanted to, you said it was important, you had a conversation with me as to why, but you chose not to. I see a lot of it. I do. And I'm sure you see a lot of that in your coaching practice as well. I mean, that's one of the challenges of being a coach, are seeing those clients who have passion, who you really know could make a difference if they would take that passion and get it out there. but something stops them. And sometimes it can be a limiting belief, and sometimes it's just that they don't know how to do it and they get scared, or maybe life takes over. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the abundance of there's a multitude of reasons of why it happens, but I certainly see both sides of it.
Yeah, I think too. I would agree with those reasons why, and I would say sometimes there's too many things they're passionate about, and they
Oh
don't know which
yeah,
one to pursue. So get a little bit of
yeah,
that bright, shiny object
very
scattered
much
things.
so.
So, and I love that because I'm just really trying to help people who, maybe passion is a big part. They get passionate about a lot of things, and they haven't known which ones to pursue and which ones to drop. And I'm looking for that. Like, do you have a criteria that you can give somebody that
I
maybe helps
do
them know
actually.
when? Yeah, would that be something you could share with us?
I would love to. I mean, it's actually it's almost it's the very first part. When I teach people how to get things done, the first piece is get the clarity of what you want to do. What is that vision?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a three-part process that I take people through, which is quite simple, and you can use it repeatedly every time you're kind of at that crossroads of what
Mm-hmm.
should I do, which is to first think of all the stuff that you want to do. So this is where it's like, think big, don't let anybody stop you, no judgment, whether you're in whatever creative format, document every idea.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fun part. The second part is then to get clarity on, like, what is your short-term goal? So is your short-term goal, for example, to make money? Is your short-term goal to build your list? Maybe your short-term goal is to build your business platform, or maybe your short-term goal is to build your expertise and your credibility.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on what your short-term goal, and I like to direct people that should be a 30, at the most 90-day short-term goal. Once you've made that decision of what the short-term goal is, now go back and look at the things that you wanted to do and see which of them allows you to get to that short-term goal. So, for example, let's imagine that your goal is to make money right now. Well, how does one make money? We sell services or products. So within that assortment of all the dreams that you had, was it maybe creating a product? Was it maybe getting a coaching program out there? I'm just throwing out two different examples. But that would be a smarter use of your time, because you know that if you get a product or service created, that's going to lead to your short-term goal. But the key is that you realize that in choosing one thing to focus on, or possibly two, if you're more of a multitasking, doer, you realize there are a bunch of things that you're not doing. And there's a lot of that initial fun list that you're saying no to for the moment. But that's kind of really the key. You're saying no for the moment because you've made the choice of what is your goal for the moment. And you can always come back and you can do this process again when you've completed the project. So it's not as if the list of all the bright, shiny objects goes away. I always keep documenting my bright, shiny object list. I mean, the list continues to grow. We're entrepreneurs. I mean, that's what we're good at. We come up with millions of ideas daily. So continue adding to the list, but also know not all of those ideas get you where you want to go at the moment. So have that kind of the practical side of, like, where are you going? Combine it with the passion side of what do you love? Merge the two, make the decision, and then kind of with great confidence and comfort, know that those ideas are there for you to come back to at a later point. So when you've completed this particular project that generated you money, maybe in 60 or 90 days, your new project is that you want to focus on list building. Okay, is there a project that will support you to do that? So that's really my best suggestion for
Yeah,
that.
that's great. Great. So that's similar to some of the things I do too, but I love the way you're framing it. And you made it like a really, really nice 3-point system there. Yoo-hoo! Love those
Love
easy
those.
3-point systems. So, you brought up this, and we've talked about the resistances that come up for people. Some people move forward, some people don't. Have you ever been in a place where you found that there was something you wanted to move forward on and you just found yourself stuck and not able to move forward on it?
I had a big one, and this was about 4 or 5 years ago. I had launched a program. It was my first Get It Done program called the Get It Done Challenge. And this was a program that I had now taken out there, and I was teaching it live to people. It was a 4-week interactive program where I would support them that by the end of 4 weeks, whatever project they had chosen to want to do, they were going to complete it by the end of that time. I had now run it 2 or 3 times, and my vision was that I was going to run it every other month. Anyway, when I first started running the program, I was very much in a place of, I can't wait to see who joins. I'm so excited to see what their projects are and how I can help them and how I can help them get them. After the 3rd project, my husband had lost his job, And I felt the Visa bill challenge and the weight of finances and scarcity. And as I was going to run my next Get It Done challenge, I thought, if X amount of people sign up, look how much money I'm going to make. And I hit rock bottom. Not that it's bad to want to make the money, but I never wanted that to be the reason I was running the program. And I pulled the program. I didn't run it. And I crawled into bed for a month. The most serious depression I think I've really ever had. And I didn't know what to do with myself because this was my livelihood. And yet I didn't want to ever run a program when that was my goal. And what got me out of it, and it is actually what gets me out of every funk since then, was I reread a book that has been my touchstone, which is Bob Burg's The Go-Giver.
I love Bob. He was just on this a few weeks ago.
I love Bob. And I read it twice a year. I recommend it to everybody. And the message in that book that got me back on track is that to make the money you want, you have to be of service to more people. And how do you get back into that place of service? And with that, I was having a conversation with my copywriter, who's my key person in my business. And one of the things I've always said to her, I said, Jen, it drives me crazy. I said, you're such an hours for dollars person. Like, you've got such brilliance. You need to get it out there in a bigger way. Anyway, we were having this conversation while I was in this service-based place. And she said, Kim, I need you to teach me how to do that. And that was like, ding, ding, ding. I thought, oh my God, if I could teach service-based professionals how to take their brilliance and create an info product, that's what I would do. So this is back years ago. I created a product called Think, Create, Sell, which was how to take your brain to the bank, really. How to kind of take all that brilliance that you know and get it out there. But I will tell you, I created that program in a week. I created it in a week, launched it in 3. I mean, it was one of these like speedy things. And I will tell you, the only reason the whole process went so quickly for me, because my head was in the right place. I was not at all thinking like, what will I make when these people join? I thought, oh my God, I can't wait to think of all the service-based professionals that I can now go and connect with and share this with and teach them how to kind of take their brain to the bank and let me teach them my process. And I filled that program so quickly, I couldn't even believe it. I mean, it was a shock to me. But it was all because my head got into the right place. So I would say that that was probably one of the biggest challenges. And I've come up against it over the years since. And what I do is I really go back to the Go-Giver. I mean, if there is one thing that I want to focus on, it's how can I show up in business to be of service to others? Because that's really why we're all in business. You know, we have our clients and we're there to serve them in the way that we can. And when we lose touch of that, I think kind of everything falls apart. You know, I really do.
That's beautiful. So, I hear a real thread between your passion, between being of service and how that sets you up for prosperity. And, so many people have gotten so convoluted about that. And, either their passion shuts down their prosperity or they've kind of gotten to the place where it's all about the money and they've lost the touch with what they're passionate about. And, I love that those two things have to be fired up. It's almost like those two pistons have to be fully functioning in you for all the other pieces to work.
Yeah. Here's something else that struck me recently. We watch people and we hear, oh, they have huge lists. So-and-so's got 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, whatever. And we talk about them as lists versus people who are receiving an email, who are making a decision based on something that they've read. And that's where something really struck me. I thought, right now, my business had gone through some shifts over this year, meaning that I was not mailing to my list, the group of people that truly followed me and I had a connection with. So over this period of time, as I had stopped mailing because I was doing some other things, these people probably went on, did other things, and were not necessarily receptive to a Kim email should it show up in their inbox. And I started to think, rather than coming at it from a place of how big is my list, I thought I want to see who on my list is interested in what it is that I talk about. And if it's 20 people, 50 people, 100 people, so be it. I will have the conversation with those people. And it's been fascinating because I've been really kind of feeling it from the perspective of who is the person opening the email versus who is that cumulative big list of people that's kind of like, what does the list mean? It's really about a person reading an email who's making a decision, who's saying, whatever she said intrigues me, I want to click, kind of thing. And getting into that frame of mind has been very, very helpful, because now I don't feel like I need to be big and big and big. It's like if I can touch a few people, you can actually start to do really well if a few people start to really love what it is that you do and get value and spread the word and have a good experience and want more from you. And that whole thing. So it's kind of realizing, and I hadn't really thought about this till you opened my eyes just in our conversation, prosperity doesn't need to come from bigness. Prosperity can come from kind of one beautiful seed, one person, a small group, and how that grows. I just recently led a pilot program of a program that I love called the Women's Launch Playbook. And it was a vision that I'd had, and I wanted to get it out there. And to get over my issues of perfection, I just chose to invite 10 women. And all I did was send them a video email saying, I'd love you to join. The 10 women forwarded it to their friends, 10 became 25. And I took those 25 under my wing. I mean, I took those 25 women very seriously. It was like, what do you need? How can I make this program what you need it to be? Because for me to take it bigger, I've got to make sure I serve the 25 first. And that was a very important lesson for me, and one that I love teaching, and am now going forth and teaching just that, because it doesn't have to be about the big numbers. It can be about, how do you really make a personal connection with somebody, and then where does your message go from there?
I love that. So I'm very inspired by quotes, and I have personal mantras. I'm wondering if there's one that really clicks for you, something that you go back to over and over and over again, that maybe helps you align a lot of the things that we're talking about today.
There are so many. But I will say a lot of it is right now. It's Bob Berg. It's like we are in business to be of service, and it is just a very simple mantra, but it grounds me and it gets me back to my roots. And it's almost like whenever I feel I'm a little funky, or I've sort of gone down a path that I'm not really feeling aligned with, and I get back to that place, it grounds me, and it grounds me to who I want to be. I mean, that's really what it is.
Okay, so we're going to double you up today. And because we've been talking so much about the Prosperity Summit, I also want to know, is there a prosperity quote or mantra or something that really clicks for you as you've been building this, that's kind of staying in the back of your mind, or has been the motivator to make you want to get this out in a bigger way?
Is there a quote around prosperity?
Or maybe even a piece of advice that you took in about prosperity?
I think what I've taken in about prosperity in general, and I think it has to do with the hiding that we do. And I want, if there's one message that I want to share, and I think about my father in this case, who for years has been teasing me for the breadth of what it is that I share with people, way too candidly in his eyes. He's like, Kim, did you really need to say that? Did you need to go on this interview and tell them whatever? Or, and this would be interviews when I was in my 20s or whatever it was that I did. And I said to him, yes, I do. I choose to be honest. I choose to share that truth. And why do I share that truth? I share that truth because whatever that truth may be, for example, because I feel confident enough in myself that there's nothing that can hurt me by sharing that truth. And I guess what I want to impart to others is to have that confidence in yourself, that in sharing whatever truth it is that you want, with a safe group of people, of course, that only goodness comes from it. I guess I'm just a real believer in that. Maybe that's the Pollyanna side in me. And that is a very big part of me, of who I am. But I think there's a lot to be said for breaking the mold and showing up in a very truthful place. And what will the ripple effect of that be? And so you talk about prosperity. I mean, think about one action that we can have if we touch people with that one action in some way, and that now bubbles up. I mean, what does the concept of the ripple effect have with regard to prosperity? I mean, it's growing and growing and growing, and it can often come from just one single person's voice, one single person's message, and where that goes.
Well said. Well, I know what's next for you. I know the Prosperity Summit and this prosperity conversation. So let's share with everybody. Can we share where to find it?
Absolutely. You can visit our website, which is at Rich and Prosperous Woman, and that's just single woman, richandprosperouswoman.com. And you can sign up. It's a free event. It's taking place January 10th and 11th. And you will have full access to all of our speakers, to listening to their content and all of their wisdom and the sharing of their stories. So please pop on over.
Now, since this is going to be around forever, and people might catch this later, can they come
Yeah,
and get take
they
advantage of it
can.
afterwards? Okay, great.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great. Well, Kim, thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me to come play in the Prosperity Summit. It's one of my favorite conversations on the
Yeah.
planet. And,
Yeah.
I think having a real authentic conversation about what's going on and what it takes to really live a prosperous life is something that really inspires me and I'm passionate about. And I can't wait to come play with all the other amazing
Thank you.
people. And, it's just fun to play with your friends and collaborate and do cool things. So I hope you'll come join us as well at the Prosperity Summit at richandprosperouswoman.com, right?
Yeah.
And tell us, be with us right now in the conversation of prosperity. We'd love to hear in the comments below. Give us a shout out. What was something that really resonated for you, an aha moment, something that inspired you, and what Kim and I shared today? We'd love to hear from you. So we will look forward to seeing you next week here on Small Business Optimizer. And again, thanks, Kim, for being here. Bye,
Thank you
everyone.
so much. Bye.